Welcome to the Goodyear City Council meeting. We're excited to have you be a part of this important public process. Tonight, you will have the opportunity to address City Council on both non-agenda and agenda items. You must fill out a speaker request card in order to address the City Council. The agendas and speaker request cards are located in the back of the council chambers. Please drop your completed card in the tray next to the blank speaker cards. If the meeting has already begun, please hand it to the city employee at the back of the room. You may check the "I do not wish to speak" option on the card. This allows you to let council know your opinion without having to speak. In accordance with the Americans with Disabilities Act, please contact a staff member if you need any assistance. Public comment on a non-agenda item will take place during the citizen comment portion of the evening. These are items that don't appear on tonight's formal agenda. The city clerk will call your name when it's time for you to speak. At that time, please approach the podium and tell us your name for the record. You'll have a maximum of 3 minutes. The timer is on the screens visible from the podium. Note that you may also choose not to speak if other speakers before you have said what you wanted to say. Shouting, cheering, and loud noises will not be tolerated, and violators may be removed for disrupting the meeting. Goodyear City Council meetings stream live on Facebook, YouTube, X, and online at goodyearaz.gov. Follow the city's social media pages so you don't miss out on all that's happening in Goodyear. Thank you for coming to this meeting and being an active part of your city. And remember, it's a great time to be in Goodyear.
I'd like to call the regular meeting to order for June 9, 2025. Everybody marked present? Oh, great. Please join Councilmember Kano in the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We invite you, Heavenly Father, into this gathering tonight as we are entrusted with the responsibility of guiding Goodyear towards prosperity, safety, and well-being. It is our honor to serve and to make decisions that will shape the future of our city. The budget we vote on tonight is not merely a collection of numbers and figures, but a reflection of our strategic plan, conservative fiscal policies, and core values. It is based upon our commitment to public safety, economic growth, and quality of life. We are grateful for the provision to make significant investment in public safety and infrastructure that will support our growth. In recent news, we celebrated and honored the heroic actions of Goodyear police officer Dakota Berry in the rescue of the young woman trapped in the burning car. We are so grateful for his service, and we pray for her complete and timely recovery. Then following that, Gabriel Facio, an Apache Junction police officer, was shot and just succumbed to his injuries yesterday. Lord, we ask mercy and compassion for the shattered hearts of his family, friends, and fellow officers. While we on council have many areas of consensus, we are united and strong in our support of our police officers, firefighters, and military. We pray publicly for their protection, and we give you thanks for the many blessings we have in Goodyear. Amen.
Amen.
Well done. Thank you. We have one communication item tonight. The first item is the preview of the new Goodyear 311 request for service system, and I will turn it over to Jenna Goad to present.
Mayor, members of the council, good evening. I am Jenna Goad, the Strategic Planning and Organizational Performance Manager, and I'm excited to be here tonight to show you a preview of our new request for service system, Goodyear 311. The system will allow residents and employees and other members of the community to submit issues or report concerns like graffiti, potholes, and water leaks 24 hours a day, 7 days a week from a computer or smartphone. Just for background, I know Council is familiar with our current system, the Report a Problem system, also called Public Stuff, which we launched in 2014. Since that time, the system has processed about 34,000 requests. But over time, the system has become outdated and doesn't integrate with our other city systems. And so staff initiated a project in FY23 to select and then implement a replacement for the system. And after we reviewed systems used by other cities, as well as options offered by our existing city vendors, and ultimately decided on a product called Catalyst, which is used by our neighbors in Avondale and Glendale, and also dozens of local governments across the country. The new system will have a much more user-friendly experience and increased functionality, such as integration with other city work order systems. This will result in increased efficiency and improved communication with the public. You will not have to create an account to submit a request through the system, and the user can opt to receive updates via either email and/or text message according to their preference. So I'm now going to play a brief video here to show you a preview of the system.
Welcome to Goodyear 311. Goodyear 311 is your way to interact with city staff to report a problem, request a service, or learn about programs like water conservation. To begin, we'll show you how to request a service. Click on the Request for Service button. On the next screen, select the location for the concern. If it's on a road, drop a pin at the location. The system will also recognize where you are with the Use My Current Location button. Or you may enter a specific address in the search bar. After selecting the address, click the Next button. On the next screen, type in your issue or use the drop-down. Click your request type and enter any information you can. Include details in the comments box. This helps city staff target solutions quickly. When possible, add photos. We accept up to 5 photos per request. When done, click Create Request. If you have not created an account with Goodyear 311, the next screen will ask for contact information. Provide an email address or phone number if you would like to receive updates about your request. Next, click the Save Changes button. Your request acknowledgement will appear with the identification number. Save this number. If you provided contact information, we'll send updates to you via text or email as you indicated. Thank you for using Goodyear 311 today.
All right, Mayor, members of council, so that gives you a little preview of the new system. We will be doing our internal launch with city staff tomorrow. At that time, we're also going to invite our LEAD alumni and youth commission members to become early users of the system as well. And of course, we'd be happy for council to use it if you're interested in trying it out. As we talked about somewhat in the work session before, our employees are really our greatest asset. And we've got roughly 1,000 pairs of eyes and ears that are out there serving the community every day. And so we really want to encourage all of our engaged employees to use this tool to see any issues that they see when they're in the community. So we're going to be promoting it through a contest, talking about it in Notes to Know, and also talking about it at the Employee Roadshow that was mentioned earlier. The full public launch will be the following week with a robust communication plan so that we can share this wonderful new system with the members of the community. And at that time, the system will become available for people to access through the city homepage or at goodyearaz.gov/311. I just want to acknowledge that this has been a joint effort by a large number of employees across the city, from the city manager's office, IT, digital communications, code, public works, water, parks and recreation, neighborhood services. But I especially do want to thank Trish Kingsbury, Kathy Rudder, Corinne Holliday, and Jeremy Dyke, who've committed just countless hours towards getting the system ready for our residents. And so with that, Mayor and Council, I hope you will join me in encouraging our residents, employees, and other members of the community to see it, snap it, send it, and help us to continue to make Goodyear a great place to be.
Thank you. Any comments from anybody? Again, thank you. It looks like quite a nice program. It's going to be a little easier to track some of this stuff when people turn in complaints or issues that they have. Well, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right, ready. Next on the agenda is to approve the appointments to boards, commissions, and committees. Do we have any speaker cards on this one?
No, Mayor.
Okay, will the council please enter a motion and a second to approve the appointments of the Judicial Advisory Committee as recommended by the Council Subcommittee on Boards and Commissions and Committees. Do I see a motion and a second? I see a motion and a second on the board. Can we open it up for voting? Passes 7-0. Thank you. All right, with that, next up, it's time for members of the public who wish to address the City Council on any non-agenda items within the jurisdiction of City of Goodyear. Any speaker cards?
Yes, Mayor. Jeff Redman.
Good evening, everybody.
Before you start, Jeff, you give your name, just whether you're a resident. I know you've been here before, the City of
Yeah.
Goodyear. You got 3 minutes. Keep an eye on the screen up there. When it gets about 20 seconds, it'll let you know.
I'll do that. Thank
Okay.
you very much.
Go
My name
ahead.
is Jeff Redman. I'm a resident of the Estrella community. First of all, sorry about that interruption earlier. I was just
That's
so
okay.
excited to talk to you. I just wanted to jump up and, get busy with it. I just sat through a portion of your business meeting over there, and congratulations on that. Nice job.
Thank you.
One of the things I want to talk to you about, or a couple items I want to talk to you about in my continued effort to draw attention to preserving the quality of life here in Goodyear, specifically Estrella, where I live, under this explosive growth. One of the items is, let me back up. Both of the items pertain to a projected land use up on the hill for 1,080 acres, just south of the high school between that and Cantamia. About a month ago, it was presented to us up there by the developer and the lawyers. And I asked a question about the roads, which are my biggest concern. And they told us that they would build homes and then expand the road system up there, i.e. the expansion of Cotton Lane, as it would continue from, if you're familiar with the area, you get up the hill from Cotton, you turn around the roundabout to head into the community. The grandiose plan, if you will, is to head Cotton all the way to Willis. And they told us that they would be building that road after they had built the homes. And that's concerning not only myself, but a vast number of us, in that if you think about the next 5 years of building 4,000 homes up there, they're going to be basically using Estrella Parkway with cement trucks, with construction trucks, and you can just imagine what that's going to be like for the people that live there. So I'm asking that the city, once presented these plans, take a hard look at requiring these developers to expand that road system, use that as their means to access all that new building, leave the thoroughway of Estrella Parkway for us that already live there. Keep it intact, keep it from being abused, keep it from being congested, which it already is, the noise down, the pollution, etc. Okay? The other item is, and I don't have a lot of detail on this other than the general and almost unanimous consensus of the community, is that we don't need or want apartments. So I'm just giving you a little food for thought of that, Listen, the housing, bring it, right? That's it. Anybody that thinks that big swath of land is going to stay open forever is, kidding themselves. But let's keep the apartments down here. Let's not bring the apartments up that way. And in my last 2 seconds, I'll bring a subject up. I was here about 12 weeks ago, March 24th to be exact, and I presented a topic, and I was told I'd get a call, and been waiting by the phone for 12 weeks for that call, so I'm just wondering how I can maybe resurface that topic and get that call.
Okay, hold on. City manager, or who was gonna contact you?
You told me somebody would call me, and then
What
I
was
just
the
left it
subject?
at that.
What was,
Excuse me?
what was the subject?
It's about the rezoning communication to the public.
Who would that be? Kenny?
It would be, and I want to check on just the background on that. We'll get back to him, sir, but I want to have
We have
some
his
time with
information?
Katie. I don't know that we have it tonight.
We have his information?
his information.
Okay.
Thank you.
Manager will follow up on that. Okay, thank you. All right, any others?
No, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. All right, will the city clerk please read the consent agenda items 3 through 9 by title only?
Item 3, approval of minutes. Item 4, adopt the Public Safety Personnel Retirement System fiscal year 2026 pension funding policy. Item 5, authorization of the expenditure of funds for Safe Streets and Roads for All SS4A Road Safety Action Plan project. Item 6, adopt resolution number 2025-2471, declaring and adopting the results of the special election held on May 20, 2025. Item 7, adopt resolution number 2025-2472, approving an intergovernmental agreement with Maricopa County for operations and maintenance of the intersections at Saraville Avenue and Lower Buckeye Road and Saraville Avenue and Magnolia Street, providing authorization, direction, and an effective date. Item 8, adopt resolution number 2025-2473, approving the adoption of resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement with the state of Arizona related to the extension of State Route Loop 303. And item 9, adopt resolution number 2025-2474, approving the purchase agreement with the state of Arizona related to the extension of State Route Loop 303, authorizing staff to make changes, imposing conditions for the execution of the purchase agreement, and authorizing the execution of documents.
Thank you. Do you have a question or you want it pulled?
Question
Okay, which one?
on 8 and 9.
8 and 9. Kenny, I guess for 8 and
He should be able to take both.
for both of them? Okay, come on up.
Now, Mayor, I appreciate it. These items are on the extension with the Loop 303. I know we've been working hard with ADOT to get agreements in place. It's taken some time. My question here was just, since we seem to have these agreements in place, is there any sort of updated timeline, or what's the latest that we've heard on the beginning of that construction likely? I know ADOT has their calendars and they change constantly, but do we have any sort of idea of when that may be happening?
Mayor, Councilmember Terry, members of the council, at this time, the best update we have from ADOT is they plan on starting construction of the Loop 303 extension later this year.
Okay, thank you.
Did I get you? I appreciate the question because that's nice to know. Everybody's interested in that 303, so thank you. All right, with that, can I get a motion and a second, which I have on the board? Since we don't have any other questions, can we open it up for vote? Passes 7-0. Thank you. We have one public hearing tonight. We'll conduct a public hearing on the proposed property tax levy for 2026, truth and taxation, and on the proposed final budget adoption for fiscal year 2026, and adopt the truth and taxation increase in roll. Let me go ahead and open that up. Before you start, you're going to do this presentation for both items, correct?
Correct.
All right. Before you start, I want to thank staff for all the effort they put in this. The reason why I'm saying that up front is we had some headwinds going towards us this year. Effective January of this year, the state took all the rights to tax residential rental property, which was about $234 million, if I recall, for 74 cities. And as a result of that, a lot of pressure was put, because that's the general fund money that's paid for police and fire and roads and street, et cetera. Well, a lot of cities here in the valley unfortunately had to raise their taxes to make up those 234. And again, that 234 is old numbers, more than likely be doubling over the next 5 to 10 years. City of Goodyear did not raise its sales tax, or its combined property tax rate stays the same. So I want to give a sharpening of the pencils to the staff to do that. That was about a $6 million hit, I believe. Does that sound about right to us right now? And who knows what it would have been 10 years from now. So again, I just want to give kudos to staff for doing that. We are ones that did not have to do that, but a lot of them did. So thank you. Now go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Ryan Biddle, and I'm the Finance Manager of Budget and Research here at the City of Goodyear. And this evening's public hearing will cover both the fiscal year 2026 final budget as well as truth and taxation. So here's our agenda for the public meeting. At the bottom of the slide, as mentioned in our CFD meeting a few minutes ago, the process for the final budget adoption is very similar to the steps we just took with the CFDs. So first, let's do the fiscal year 2026 budget adoption. So the budget portion of my presentation is only one slide and will be short and sweet. I know it's a big number, but for the purpose of sharing with citizens and the general public who may be watching for the first time, let me give a little bit of background and a recap of all the steps that were taken to get to this point in the process. The fiscal year 2026 budget process officially kicked off back in calendar year 2024. We had extensive collaboration, dozens of meetings between departments, the city manager's office, and the budget team discussing available resources and needs for the upcoming fiscal year. As part of these touch points, our updated strategic plan, which was adopted by council in November, was at the forefront of these conversations. It acts as a roadmap during budget development, helping us prioritize funding and ensuring timely delivery of associated strategic plan action items. In February, a 5-year general fund forecast was presented as part of our council retreat, creating the foundation off of which our 2026 budget was created. In April, we met again at an extended work session where we had in-depth discussions on department requests as part of the city manager's recommended budget. And then on May 19th, council adopted the city's tentative budget, where changes from the city manager's budget were reconciled, presented, and discussed. All of those touch points bringing us to where we are this evening for the final adoption of our 2026 budget in the amount of $1,240,703,500. This amount is unchanged from the last time we met in May. Switching gears to truth and taxation, I want to spend just a quick minute on this slide talking about property taxes as a whole. I know council gets a lot of questions from the public about their property taxes throughout the year, so I think this slide does a really good job of showing where the average Goodyear residents' property taxes actually go. So what this slide is meant to represent is that for every dollar the average Goodyear resident pays, only 15 cents of that dollar actually goes to the city of Goodyear. As you can see on there, the majority of it goes to fund education, and the remainder goes to the county and special districts. So I guess the takeaway here is that in reality, even though we are required by statute to speak here this evening, most of the property taxes paid by citizens here in Goodyear fall outside of council's decision-making authority. So it's important to note that truth in taxation deals only with the primary portion of property taxes. Primary property taxes get programmed into the general fund operations portion of the budget, which is around half, as Mayor mentioned earlier, goes towards funding public safety initiatives. We have two financial policies that govern property taxes here in Goodyear, one of which directly relates to truth in taxation and sets our primary levy at the max amount allowed by state statute. And this policy has been in place for at least a decade now. State law requires the process of truth in taxation anytime the average property tax bill increases, even though the primary property tax rate stays the same or reduces. So looking at rates, for fiscal year 2026, as mentioned, our rate will stay the same at $1.74 per every $100 of assessed valuation. This combined rate of $1.74, which was set by City Council, has been unchanged since 2018. So why is my property tax bill going up if the rate isn't changed, is one of the typical questions you might hear. And that's simply because the value of your property is likely more this year than it was last year. If you look at the bottom of the slide here in the box, the $405, that is the amount that the average Goodyear single-family resident will pay that actually goes to the city of Goodyear. For those of you that live here in the city, you know your property tax bill is much more than that, so I would reference you back to that dollar bill. Only a small fraction of your property tax bill actually goes to the city. So that is what that is meant to represent. So this slide here is being presented to show that we are in compliance with all the statutory requirements, outreach, and notifications for both TNT and adoption of the final budget. So in closing, what we're asking of council this evening is, following the public hearing, to take public comment on truth and taxation and the final budget, close the public hearing, and approve our truth and taxation amount of $303,271 by roll call vote. Once our regular meeting is finished, I think there's one more item on business after this, immediately we'll adjourn and reconvene in a special meeting as required per state statute to adopt the fiscal year 2026 budget. Looking forward, we have one last remaining touch point on June 23rd, where we'll formally adopt the property tax levies. Does council have any questions?
We do, but before you go, can you explain to the general public why the policy of maximizing the primary tax rate and then keeping the total at the same? Why is that? Why do we do that?
So we maximize the primary rate to ensure consistent revenues for the general fund. As mentioned, that goes to fund over half of our general fund ongoing operations funds public safety. That is a big focus here at the city, and that is a big driving factor behind that.
And the secondary can only be used for debt service, so by keeping the total rate the same, you're moving money so that you can use more general fund money to pay for public safety, et cetera. Is that an accurate statement?
Correct, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. With that, do we have any speaker cards?
Yes, Mayor.
Go ahead.
David Sousa.
Mention the name, David, and if you would just, whether you're a resident and you're at the 3 minutes, it'll tell you when you're getting closer within 20 seconds.
Absolutely, sir.
Go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, Mayor Pizzillo, council members. My name's Dave Sousa. I am a Goodyear resident and a governing board member for Buckeye Union High School District. And I had 4 questions, which I had emailed you all previously. But thanks to the presentations and the information I've received prior to this, I'm only going to ask you one question. Will the tax increase support the growth in access roads for local schools? And I'll give you the example. The increase in residents within the Estrella Mountain community, which is in my district, the high school, Estrella Foothills, will heavily impact access to that. As you know, there's only one way in and one way out. And so I'd like to know if how is this going to support those access roads going down to the future? Thank you.
Kenny, are you the one that could answer that question for him? I know the money goes to the general fund and we have several hundreds of millions of dollars going to transportation. I'm not sure whether that particular one is in the CIP. Do you know?
Mayor, members of the council, if I understand correctly, I think it's asking for the roads that still need to be built within the Estrella Mountain.
Right. Well, you know, with the growth up there and obviously the expansion of the school, there's only one way in and one way out. And if this is part of accessing that as community members, how is this going to be taken
So
care of?
as Estrella Mountain Ranch, and as the developments continue to develop there, we work closely with our development services department, our engineering department work closely with the developers on building out those roads. If there is portions of the road that need to be built that can't be built by developers, we do have funding. I don't think it'll be specifically coming from the property tax here, but we do have funding to be able to support transportation projects. But most of the development that needs to happen in developed areas like that do need to happen from the developments that are contributing to those new houses and development, things like that.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
And I just want to congratulate you all on such a successful event. And getting to listen to that earlier, you should be very proud of what you all do.
Well, thank you. Any other cards?
No, Mayor.
Okay, no speaker cards. Going to go ahead and close the public hearing. And can I get a council enter a motion and a second to approve the truth and taxation of $303,271 for fiscal year 2026? I see a motion and a second. Open for discussion. First up, Councilmember Terry.
Thank you, Mayor. As you know, we had a conversation on this, and it can get quite confusing. So, Ryan, I appreciate you're already working your way up. And I apologize out there if I repeat some things that you mentioned in your presentation. I just want to make this down to the most basic level so it's easy to understand with folks. So my fundamental question here, can you confirm that the city of Goodyear is not increasing the overall property tax rate?
Thank you, Mayor and Councilmember Terry. That is correct.
Yeah. And that is because of a primary and a secondary combined. So while the primary goes up, the secondary has gone down to where the overall rate is flat. And if the rate is staying the same, you mentioned this, do you know a little bit of the background of the state law that requires us to publish this notice that says we are raising property tax rates?
Yeah, so the truth in taxation statute requires public notice when the primary levy on existing property increases. The key words there being primary levy and existing property. So because our financial policy tells us to maximize the primary levy, by default, pretty much every year, we will be having a truth in taxation hearing.
Okay. And under that Arizona law, how is a tax increase defined? And I ask that specifically looking at, is it based on the tax rate itself, or is it over the total amount of money collected from existing properties?
So the statute is related to the levy itself. It doesn't mention the rate at all. So if the levy goes up, regardless of what the rate is, the notice is required and all the steps for truth in taxation are required as well.
So to be clear, it's based on the collection amount. It's not based on the rate that we set up here.
Correct.
Okay. And then can you explain, and you did a little bit earlier, the reason why a property tax bill may go up if the rate has not changed?
Yes, that's a very common question that you guys get. So yes, it's likely because your home is just worth more as set by the county when they assess your property year over year.
Okay. And again, Mayor, I appreciate you putting up with me. I do have a few more. So can you describe how Goodyear's population and our property values have grown over the past few years and how the growth itself affects this process?
Yes, so for the purpose of the public, each year we share with council in various forums. This year it was done during the General Fund 5-year forecast. We show trending of population growth as well as Goodyear's assessed valuation increase and projected increase in future years. As far as the population is concerned, we've increased on average 5% per year over the past 5 years. I would say the population does not have a direct impact on the truth in taxation, on the amount of truth in taxation. However, additional population increases that assessed valuation, and that assessed valuation does have an impact on our property taxes and what we pay.
Okay. And then judging by your previous slide, you had mentioned this before, but City of Goodyear takes approximately 15%. We make up about 15% of a property tax bill within our city. Is that correct?
That is correct. So as that assessed valuation goes up, the property taxes and the levy goes up, but our percentage remains right around 14 or 15%. Thank you.
Okay. And with most of that going to schools, I came from a school district before I came here. School districts don't have sales taxes or anything else. That's their primary way of getting their funds. What percentage of our total revenue comes from the property taxes compared to sources like the sales tax? So what percentage of what we get is property tax based compared to sales taxes?
So in our fiscal year 26 adopted budget, about 4% of our total citywide revenues come from property taxes. That being said, that amount is pretty volatile year over year because the total budget includes one-time sources of revenue such as debt issuances, grants, and whatnot. So I would say probably the more stable metric, if you were looking at property taxes or specifically primary property taxes, is primary property taxes as a percent of general fund ongoing revenues, because those are what council has discretion over how that money is used. And that is falling right around 8% this year, and it was right around 8% last year as well.
And since you mentioned the general fund, and we've kind of squashed this with our budget a little bit, we had a $1.2 billion budget, which is a big number. What's the number of our general fund? The actual fund that we, as a city, get to, for lack of a better term, play around with and distribute compared to, the mandatory stuff?
So our general fund budget for fiscal year 26 is right around $350 million. Of that, about $190 million of that is ongoing dollars that we have to spend year over year.
Okay. And then back to the taxes, because I love taxes and numbers, I, again, apologize. But where does our property tax rate compare to some other cities out here in the West Valley? Just kind of where are we at generally?
So we were looking at this morning, and there are, out of the 91 cities and towns from the League of Cities and Towns website, about 53 of those have either a primary or a secondary property tax. On average, if you were to average out everybody that does issue a property tax, we're right in line, right in the middle with everybody. The other way you could look at that is Goodyear compared to maybe the West Valley, or Goodyear compared to the Valley benchmark communities. Those are two other common comparisons we typically use here. And we are right in the middle, if not just slightly above, compared to our Valley benchmark city peers.
Okay, and that's compared to cities that have both a primary and a secondary. Can you explain the difference between primary and secondary levy? I know the mayor did, but just for emphasis here, what can they be used for? Where do they come from? Why are there two different levies?
Yes, so it's, why do they have to make it so confusing is probably the better question, right?
That's why
yeah.
I'm doing this.
Yes, so the primary levy we use for the general fund. So it can be used at council's discretion. And again, we typically here at the City of Goodyear have historically and continue to reinvest into our public safety programs. The secondary property tax is governed by state statute, can only be used to pay for general obligation debt service. And that is kind of piggybacking off of the speaker previously, that is additional source of revenue that we can use to potentially pay for expansion of roads or expansion of public safety facilities, any type of capital project.
Okay. Are we able to reduce the secondary levy this year just because of the long-term debt obligations are decreasing? I know we put some money up front on that to cover that. Can you explain why we're able to reduce that rate?
Yes, so you're correct. We are paying down, calling some debt, so paying it off early, essentially. Unfortunately, that debt is not general obligation debt, so it's not related to the property taxes that we're discussing this evening. It is a different type of debt at the city.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. And then primaries, secondary rate, that's pretty much it for property taxes, but we have other taxes that we collect as a city. Other than sales tax, are there, what are the major other fees that we do collect as a city?
So sales tax, as you hit on, is the big one. Sales tax makes up around 50 to 60% of our general fund ongoing operations. So we rely on that very heavily. We also do issue property tax, so 8%. So that property tax, like I said, is 8%, so that's a much smaller. We get state shared revenues, so that has to do with income taxes. It has to do with sales tax as well. So you're right, there are a variety of sources that are taxed, and Goodyear gets a share of that. But the largest one by far are sales tax in the general fund, yes.
Okay, and my last question here relates to that, our overall property tax. As we continue to grow and, property valuations are growing as well, they have been for a little bit. With our financial stability as a city, is it structurally possible, I guess would be a phrase to use in future years, to look at reducing maybe that secondary levy even more to more than offset just a flat rate, maybe even explore the idea of lowering the overall rate, even if it's just slightly as we continue to grow?
So
I know that's a loaded question.
The short answer is, in theory, yes, it is possible. And largely, I would say, driven by our conservative financial policies that we have here. And if there was a desire by council to change that, that would be the first place that we would need to go as a city to discuss that. Everything we're doing this evening is driven by our financial policies, so those would have to change before we would touch any of the rates that we currently have.
Okay. And Mayor, that's all I have on questions. I did kind of have a statement explaining, but that can either come now or later.
Why don't you wait to the end?
Perfect.
All right, the only thing is when we talk about rates and you talk about the comparisons in the middle, it's very difficult. They're not apples and oranges, because there are some cities that have a huge amount of assessed valuations. and there are some cities that have little amount of assessed valuations. So when you try to do rate to rate, it's virtually almost impossible to say whether you're in the middle or not, because there's so many variables in there on all these different cities. I just want to throw that out to everybody, think that it's a cut and dry like sales tax or some of the others. So with that, next one up is Councilmember Hampton.
Yeah, thank you so much. I know we've been going over this a lot for the last 6, 7, 8 months. So thank you for the team, the hard work. And yeah, I'm excited for this budget. So I think it's a good, solid budget. It's balanced. We're being smart with the taxpayer money. I'm excited I know we're doing a lot of infrastructure projects. I don't know what percentage it is, but I'm sure it's a large, you probably know the number. Large percentage of this is infrastructure, roads, particularly the bridge going across Estrella. It's a huge investment there as well to get more free flow of traffic through that community, at least out of the community. Public safety, we're investing in our public safety, our police, and our fire, which is another one of our commitments to make sure we're providing a safe community to the citizens of Goodyear as well. So as a member of the audit subcommittee, and just looking forward to this, I think it's a good budget. So I'll be voting yes for it. So thank you for all your hard work, and looking forward to implementing the budget going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Kano.
It's important that residents know that this is probably our most important task that we do every year is the budget and addressing the taxation. And, we have excellent fiscal policies that have stood us in good stead through good times and bad times, but our financial stability has been very, very key. The publications that we put out on truth and taxation are very legal. They're very technical. So I appreciate the dialogue here tonight, the mayor's explanation, Councilman Terry's questioning, because it is not as clear as it could be. And I know as a city, we have a legal obligation to put out the legal interpretations or what is up, but I think it's also important to be able to put it in layman's terms in some degree, which we try to do here, but we're not publishing anything or putting out anything that really speaks specifically. I think we've covered the primary and secondary pretty well. Would you talk about the levy and that 2%? Just maybe explain that a little bit further.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Councilmember Kano. So probably the best way to do that is as an example, if a new property is built, at the point in time when it's built, the county will assess that property based on comparable parcels. And those essentially set the baseline off of which that parcel's taxed. That first year and that baseline, that property is excluded from truth and taxation. Then every subsequent year, assuming the same owner is there, and there's a bunch of different stipulations, but for the purpose of everybody understanding it, that creates the baseline, and then that cannot be increased more than 5% each year. The 2% that you're referring to is for the city ourselves. Our levy cannot increase more than 2% year over year on those existing properties. So not the first year properties, that's considered new construction, a completely different category, but the existing properties that have been there for over a year, we are limited to increasing our levy by that 2%.
Okay, so if we have a circumstance where everybody's property values wildly escalate, we're limited on how much we can increase the levy.
Correct.
There's protection for the residents for that. All right, thank you so much.
Next one up, Councilmember Gillis.
Ryan, per usual, I always like to say at the end of these things, thank you very much for the time you've put into this, because you have put a lot of time into it to make sure that everybody's agendas have come through correctly. And I know I'm not a numbers person. They scare me, in fact. So I think you do a really, really good job with this. And every year that I have been here, and this is my third now, I'm impressed by what you've brought us. And sometimes I look at you and think, how did he do that? How did he get that out of that? This was a big budget this year. And I know it's a big budget, which is why I want to say something about that, because I know there's people out there that have made mention of that to me. And we all know it's a big budget. But also, 67%, am I correct, went to first responders, right? And so, and that's important. And I think that the people need to understand that, because these are the people that are protecting their area, the city of Goodyear, the entire city of Goodyear, whether it be police or whether it be fire. And everybody knows that I'm a huge police and fire fan. And we were behind, especially with law enforcement, by a lot. And I think it's really good that we have finally caught up. And I give everybody credit for realizing what we needed to finally do for law enforcement in this city, because those are the men and women that protect our constituents. And we, quite frankly, didn't have enough doing that. So I'm really, really happy that we're finally there and that you were able to work this into this budget and that we're looking pretty good on that now. So thank you very much for everything you've done, because I know it wasn't easy. Thanks, Ryan.
Councilman Terry?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I got across some of my thoughts and not just the questions I had for clarifying purposes. This is my first budget cycle here in the city of Goodyear. I do want to thank you, Ryan. Not only meetings this morning, meetings last week, Jared, same thing, city manager. Appreciate you guys availing yourselves throughout this. And just want to make clear the overall tax rate, despite what was sent out as required by law, the overall tax rate in Goodyear is remaining flat. And it's not just unique to Goodyear. I know Maricopa County is slightly cutting their property tax rate again for the 4th year in a row. They just had to send out a truth in taxation notice saying that they were raising the rate despite their overall levy rate being reduced. When I was president of the Agua Fria High School District Governing Board, we reduced our bond levy rate 1 year. We still had to send out the truth in taxation notice. It's something that I'm familiar with, but I'm also familiar with how confusing it gets. So I wanted to make it clear there. I really appreciate the city, our policy of maximizing our primary levy, getting every dollar possible that towards the first responders, towards public works, towards our infrastructure projects. That's vitally important. I know this year we were talking about the increase in public safety funding, 29 new police positions to my recollection. We have a new fire station going in with this budget, expansion of roads, adding traffic lights. There's just so much there. And, you know, getting to my last question, I know, Mayor, you took a meeting with me last week, and, you know, I've talked with the city manager, but I do think with the growth as a city, I would like to see us potentially following in the footsteps of something like Maricopa County has done, or I know the city of Surprise has done, with being able to trim as we grow and if economic conditions maintain themselves. But as we grow, being able to trim our property tax levy so that our rate may actually shrink a little bit while we still bring in more dollars because more people are moving here. People want to live in Goodyear. And as long as we can still provide the services to our first responders, to our public works, to these vitally important things, that's something I at least want to explore. And Mayor, I told you I would like to bring up this fall. These budget cycles are long, and just wanted to thank you, Ryan, Jared, everyone here. And this isn't something I've done. I mean, like I said, I've been here, 5 months and 5 days, something like that. And these policies, this strong financial position that the city of Goodyear is in, it's not because of me. I just got here. And it's a long-standing policy over time. So that's just kind of my thoughts on this. I look forward to supporting this budget. I'm really excited about it. And I will end my filibuster of this meeting.
Thank you. With that being said, only thing I just want to add is, even though the budget's big at $1.2 billion, $998 million, okay, of that budget is programmed for CIP over the next 5 years. And even in this year's budget, we got almost $600 million, which covers, various like transportation projects, $396 million, parks and rec programs, $139 million, public safety projects, $108 million, enterprise projects, that's water, sewer, et cetera, $332 million, general government, $21 million. So we are investing back into the city with all of this money to make us a greater place to work, live, and raise our family. And like I say, it's a great time to be in Goodyear. So with that, you got to do an individual roll call vote, correct? Go ahead.
When I call you, please state your vote. Councilmember Hampton?
Aye.
Councilmember Kano?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gillis,
Aye.
Councilmember Beckles,
Aye.
Councilmember Terry,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Campbell,
Aye.
Mayor Pizzillo.
Aye. Passes
Mo-
7-0. Thank you. Let's see, we got one item on business. I'd like to remind council to wait for a motion and a second before discussion. Our first item is the Estrella Falls and GSQ Comprehensive Sign Package. We got Jimmy, Assistant Planner. You're going to do it? Go for it.
Good evening, Mayor Pizzillo, members of the council. As you mentioned, my name is Jimmy Carrion, Assistant Planner here with the City of Goodyear. I believe this is my first time presenting in front of you, so I'm honored to be here. So thank you. I'm here before you today with a request from Nicole Valenzuela to approve a comprehensive sign package, or CSP for short. That's what I'll be using today, for approximately 330 acres of commercial, retail, and mixed-use property. This new CSP will merge two existing CSPs within this area, which encompasses Estrella Falls, Goodyear Civic Square, and GSQ Regional Center. So the subject property was originally part of the Goodyear Planned Regional Center PAD, or Planned Area Development. In February of 2000, Council approved an ordinance rezoning the property from AU, agricultural urban, to final PAD mixed uses. This includes, but is not limited to, commercial, retail, entertainment, recreational, and residential development. And in September of 2006, Council approved the Estrella Falls CSP within the Goodyear Planned Regional Center, PAD. And you can see from this aerial photo that the Estrella Falls CSP boundary, the yellow boundary, encompasses this whole 330-acre site. However, it only provided detailed design standards for the market at Estrella Falls, as you can see here. Concurrently, at that same September 2006 meeting, Council also approved a use permit for 2 freeway pylon signs within the Goodyear Planned Regional Center PAD. And these signs were captured in the Estrella Falls CSP that was approved that same day. And then during an April 2016 public hearing, Council approved an amendment to the Estrella Falls CSP, which at that time provided design standards for what was to be the future Estrella Falls Mall. However, this CSP amendment did not provide specific design standards for this middle section, which we now know as Goodyear Civic Square, including the BB Living Residential development to the north. So as you can see from this graphic, sign standards up to this point in time were identified for the market at Estrella Falls here on the eastern border, and what was to be the future Estrella Falls Mall site on the western border. Now, during that same April 2016 public hearing, Council also approved an amendment to the use permit for the Estrella Falls, originally approved in 2006, permitting the construction of 1 additional freeway pylon sign. So bringing that total to up to 3 freeway pylon signs allowed, as you can see in this graphic here. This approval also allowed one of the freeway pylon signs to house an electronic message display. So that would be the freeway pylon sign on the far left there. So next, in July of 2019, Council approved an ordinance for the rezone of approximately 104 acres within the Goodyear Planned Regional Center PAD for a development to be known as Goodyear Civic Square at Estrella Falls, PAD. Then in July of 2021, Council approved the CSP for Goodyear Civic Square, approximately 48 acres of land within the Estrella Falls CSP bounds. And this new CSP provided standards for GSQ, which had not been identified in either the original or the amended Estrella Falls CSPs. And then most recently, in February of 2023, Council approved an ordinance for the rezone of approximately 152 acres to be known as GSQ Regional Center PAD. And you can see that area highlighted in green on the graphic. So with the adoption of the GSQ Regional Center PAD, there are now 3 separate PADs within this site. Also, there are 2 approved CSPs within this site. Just for clarification, the Estrella Falls and GSQ CSPs. So with consideration to when each of these CSPs was initially created, both have very different design themes. So for context on the varying design themes of the 2 CSPs, here's an example comparing 2 multi-tenant monument signs. So you see the Estrella Falls theme on the left, which we see today just west of City Hall at the market at Estrella Falls. And then you have the GSQ theme signage on the right, which you may have seen recently popping up in and around City Hall. So the request before you today is to approve a new CSP titled the Estrella Falls and GSQ Comprehensive Sign Package. This new CSP will merge the 2 existing CSPs, the Estrella Falls and GSQ CSPs, into one unified document, removing any conflicts or contradictions that may arise. Furthermore, the design standards for the commercial and mixed-use area located within the GSQ Regional Center, the green shaded area, will be updated to mirror the standards of the GSQ CSP by utilizing the same materials, color palette, and design theme. And this update will provide a cohesive and seamless look and feel to future development in the area east of Bullard Wash. Also, the merging of the 2 existing CSPs will also allow users within the bounds of GSQ Civic Square to utilize the future freeway pylons for signage. As it stands now, users within the bounds of the GSQ CSP, the red shaded area there in the center, would not be permitted to advertise on the future freeway pylon signs, identified with the red pin here at the bottom right corner. Since the bounds of the GSQ CSP, again, the red shaded area, does not encompass the area where the pylon signs would be erected, that green shaded area there, bottom right. And at the moment, and with having 2 approved CSPs, the CSP standards are intermixed, and administratively, this merger would also save staff time when reviewing future sign requests for the growing area to the east of us by providing just one document with all the standards included. And then I just quickly wanted to point out the residential development on the upper part of the site, shown here in the blue. It already follows Article 7 of the Goodyear sign standards. I'm sorry, Article 7 sign standards of our Goodyear zoning ordinance. All right. This request also includes updates to the design of 2 previously approved pylons that have yet to be erected. The design would transition from that of the Estrella Falls CSP freeway pylon design to the new design meeting the GSQ design requirements. So here on the left is the rendering of the currently approved Estrella Falls freeway pylon sign, which includes a digital display, a digital screen. The one proposed on the right would follow the same look, feel, design of the signs that we see in and around GSQ. And so here's another example of the freeway pylon designs for both. The only difference between these and the prior graphic is that a digital screen is not included here. The sign dimensions and quantity of the freeway pylon signs being proposed have not been altered and still would be subject to the terms of the previously approved use permit as amended. And no other design changes to the Market at Estrella Falls sign standards are being proposed. And then here's just a graphic representation of how the future freeway pylon signs would look. Also, the GSQ identification letters that we currently see at a few hard corners here around GSQ will also be added at 4 different locations throughout the GSQ Regional Center area, that green highlighted area to the west, to the east. And so this will just add to the cohesive transition from GSQ to the GSQ Regional Center development. And all other signage identified for the GSQ Regional Center will follow the same design standards identified in the GSQ CSP and will carry the standards already approved for Goodyear Civic Square. So just like the existing signage for the market at Estrella Falls, sign designs within GSQ Civic Square will remain intact with no changes being proposed here. So staff has evaluated the impact of this proposed CSPs and no major concerns have been found. The request meets the evaluation criteria of for a CSP as set forth in Article 7 sign regulations of the Goodyear zoning ordinance and is subject to stipulations as well. So to summarize, you would be providing approval for the standards of the GSQ Regional Center to match that of the standards of recently approved by you with the GSQ CSP amendment. And this approval would provide a seamless and cohesive transition between GSQ and GSQ Regional Center and the new development going up now as we see. As a reminder, no changes are being proposed to the existing signage at the market at Estrella Falls, nor existing signage at GSQ Civic Square in and around City Hall. So I wanted to point out that existing users within these sites would not be negatively affected. Staff recommends approval of the Estrella Falls and GSQ comprehensive sign package. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Any speaker cards?
We received 1 speaker card from Charlie Gibson in support and would wish to speak only if necessary.
Okay, thank you. See anybody in the audience like to speak? All right, seeing none, council please enter a motion and a second to approve the Estrella Falls and GSQ comprehensive sign package dated April 2025, subject to stipulations. Let's see, I see a motion. And is there a second?
Yeah.
There's a second on the board. All right, with that being said, first up, Councilmember Hampton.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, I think it's a good sign package. I had some clarifying questions, though. I'm sure they're in there. I just couldn't see them when I was reading through it. The screen hours are the same as the existing hours for the other screens that are on the pylons. For example, those the billboards, for example. The same hours? Are they gonna turn off at night?
So there's different standards for billboards versus a digital screen. So we're not actually proposing any changes from what was already approved in the original Estrella Falls CSP back in 2006. So nothing's being changed, so hours would be the same.
Can you remind me what those hours are?
I will get that for you.
Okay.
Don't have that off the top of my head.
And then, I put here another note was, and then for maintenance on these, I'm sure that's in the standard too, but if they fall in disrepair, things like that, I mean, is that on the developer or is that on us to maintain them, keep them looking good and sharp?
Yeah, so that would be on the user and themselves. And so if, I will verify the date, but I believe once notified, tenants will have to bring their signs into conformance within 30 days. I'll get that exact date for you, but it would be on the tenant user themselves.
Yeah, I know. I like that it says Goodyear, City of Goodyear on it. I like the white looks good. Yeah, I think they'll be good to highlight what we have over at GSQ. I just want to make sure that they're going to look good for forever as well and maintain looking good, because the big representation, you're in Goodyear when you're going to see those. So I want to make sure that those marquees are looking good for the long term as well. And yeah, just be curious on the sign hours, just to see where they're at. If they're more like over by Yates, those hours over there, or what that would look like.
Yeah, that would be
that's
a great example.
I can't remember the hours.
Yeah,
so.
that's a great example of a digital billboard on a freeway pylon sign. So the standards would be the same.
Yeah, I just can't remember. Yeah. So if you could find that for me, I'd appreciate it.
I think it was like 11:30 or something like that.
Is it? I just don't
11
remember.
o'clock,
I just don't remember.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's fine because we're having it approved. So I'll probably still approve it. I just was curious on the hours. So Other than that, then yeah, I think it's good. It'll be nice to have more of a branding for the entire area there. So thank you.
Councilmember Kano?
First off, I want to say welcome, Jimmy. You did a great job presenting and look forward to hearing from you as we go along. Very interesting that you walked us through a lot of history of Goodyear, of this region, and what we thought was going to happen and how it's evolved. And it's just very exciting that we ended up with a project like GSQ. And so now we're working on the details like the signs. And you did say repeatedly, which I appreciated, that the Estrella signs are going to stay the Estrella signs. But I just wanted to clarify they won't be doing any more Estrella Falls branding. What's currently Estrella Falls is going to stay that way. And then everything new in that area will be GSQ. Is that correct?
Thank you, Councilmember Kano. That's correct.
Okay, great. The new signs do look great. They look sharp and modern. And so excited for this change. Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Okay, I've got a couple of questions. Is there any provision for digital signs within the GSQ area?
Great question. Can you elaborate on that?
Katie.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I'm Katie Wilkin, Development Services Director. The zoning ordinance does allow digital components anywhere in the city of Goodyear. The GSQ CSP doesn't specifically plan for a digital component, but the zoning ordinance does allow, should they request. There are no plans to do something like a Westgate, if that's what you're thinking.
I'm not necessarily thinking of that, but we have so many activities in our new gathering place, and I want that publicized. And I think the digital billboard is the place to do that, because almost every month something is going on in front of City Hall. And we're bringing folks in, and it's hard to figure out where to go. The way it's laid out, you don't necessarily know where all the restaurants are. So the signs are really critical. But I really would like some way that we advertise as a city what's going to happen, like our Juneteenth and anything that's going to happen in front of City Hall itself. I just would think that there's some way we ought to be able to do it. Now, I'm not telling you to go do it today. I'm just suggesting, I think it's a good idea to do that. So now, are the pylon signs within the GSQ area, are they going to have all of the restaurants that pay to go on that sign so that people will know these restaurants and like the Yard Milkshake Bar and the Nail Place, they're going to have an opportunity to be on the pylon? Because some folks don't know that they're tucked away back there.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Campbell. Who gets to go on the signs is all privately managed. Anyone within the sign area has the opportunity from our regulations.
Do it.
But it's completely through their private CC&Rs, just like you are in an HOA that may have CC&Rs, the private businesses do.
Okay.
So how they give those opportunities, some places may limit it to certain size of tenants. And we're not privy to
We're not
all those
doing that.
rules and regulations because
Okay.
that's all privately between the property owners
Okay.
and the tenants, but they certainly could, our regulations wouldn't prevent that at all.
So on the map with the red dot, what's the red dot for? Is that where a pylon is going to go?
That's correct. That's correct, Councilmember Campbell. So this is the actual location of where the future two
So that will be our
approved-
fourth pylon.
up to 3 total. So there's currently 1 erected, and then 2 additional can be erected.
All right, and
in
what's
this
the
location.
height of them?
Max height 85 feet.
Or is that the normal height?
Yeah, so the design dimensions are not changing from the originally
I
approved.
just want them to be seen. I don't want them to be lost when you're flipping on the freeway going 90 miles an hour. You want to be able to read it. Sure. You want to know what's there.
Did you hear that, Chief?
Well, I don't go 90 miles an hour, but everybody's whipping by and you're trying to read the signs. And if it's so little, you don't know that they're there. And that frontage is so important to our businesses. And it's very important that they have the ability to be seen, or at least we tell them that they're there. And my last question is, let me see here real quick. So are we having pylon signs within GSQ or some signage that says when you go around those roundabout, everybody that's going over it instead of around it, that you go this way to the milkshake and you go this way to high tides? I mean, is there any, I know that's not up to us to do it, it's probably up to the developer, but has there been any discussion at all that we're gonna do that? So that when people enter the GSQ area, there's signage telling them where to go and what to do?
Yeah, great question. Thank you, Councilwoman Campbell. There are standards within the CSP with regard to
That would
GSQ
allow
Civic
them to
Square.
do
Yes,
that?
that allows wayfinding and provides design standards in certain locations
Okay.
to provide wayfinding for
Now, what are we
pedestrians.
gonna do when we open Goodyear Boulevard and it goes all the way to Bullard? Is there gonna be signage off of Bullard? Do they have to come back to us to get permission to do that? Or is this comprehensive sign package going to incorporate that? Because once that road is open, all of that dirt area is gonna be developed. It's just gonna go crazy.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Campbell. This CSP will address signage within that GSQ Regional Center area. It's still being developed. So, for instance, if they wanted to erect signage that was outside of this CSP's requirements, we would come back as a CSP
But there's enough
amendment. But
requirements that they can put maybe signage where the new road that's coming through
That's
from
correct.
Bullard in, because people that, they're not gonna know where to go or where it's gonna take them.
That's correct. Yes,
So-
there is a section in there for wayfinding.
Okay, great. Well, this is wonderful. I just think we need to loosen up a little bit on this signage thing because we need to protect our businesses and we need to give them as much exposure as we can and still have integrity within our city. And I appreciate y'all redoing this so that we can bring everything comprehensive under one plan and we can go with that. So thank you very much.
You good? All right, Councilwoman Gillis?
I love them. I love the looks of them. I think they look great. I think they're a huge, terrific addition to our city. And the only question I had, and I'd already asked the city manager, but I'll just be sure, there's no cost to us. This is cost to the developers, correct?
That's correct.
Just to be sure. Okay, that's what I wanted the people to know. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the presentation. Can I get a motion and a second to approve the Estrella Falls GSQ Comprehensive Sign Package dated April 2025, subject to stipulations? I see a motion and a second. I guess no further. We can go ahead and vote. Passes 7-0. Thank you. All right, let's see what we got here. Does the council have any comments, commendations, reports on current events or requests for future items? We all good? All right, next, manager, have anything?
No, Mayor.
All right, next meeting will be June 16th, 2025. No further business discussion. This meeting is adjourned. We are moving right into the special meeting. I'd like to call the special meeting to order, June 9th, 2025. City Clerk, please let us know who is present for the record.
Let the record reflect that all members are present.
Okay, perfect. Our first item on the agenda is consider adopting the fiscal year 2026 budget. All right, the presentation has already been given. All right, anybody in the audience like to speak? City Clerk, please read resolution number 2025-2474 by title only.
Adopt resolution number 2025-2475, determining and adopting the final estimates of proposed revenues and the expenditures for the city of Goodyear for fiscal year 2026, beginning July 1, 2025, and ending June 30, 2026.
Thank you. The City Council enter a motion and a second to adopt resolution 2025-2475. See a motion and a second on the board. Are we all discussioned out? No, that's okay. All right, with no further discussion, I got a motion. Let's go ahead and vote. Passes 7-0. Thank everybody for tonight. No further business. This meeting's adjourned.